Hello, and welcome back to the Creative Conversation podcast, where we talk about our creative life and everything else related to our artistic journey. If you're listening on YouTube, you're also watching me working at my studio. I'm not sure it's so fascinating, but that's good because this way you'll be able to better concentrate on our conversation here. So let's begin. So let me ask you a question. Do you have artist friends? Do you know people you can talk to them about creative stuff all day long? People who will do art with you? Do you have friends who are really interested in your craft? Me, I don't really have it. I mean, most people around me are actually quite creative in their own way, but nobody I know in my everyday life is quite into what I do. So I can talk to the people around me about life and the universe, about history, geography, and cultures. And I enjoy these conversations very much. But I always long for someone like me. Someone that can do creative stuff together and also talk about creativity. And I hope it doesn't sound hopelessly tragic because it's not that tragic. But I'm always a little jealous when I see two friends who share a studio or have a special bond over some creative project. Like an artist friend, it's of course someone you can be creative with and talk about your creative interest without them yawning. But also one of the reasons it's so great to have such a friend is that they can inspire you and support you when you are out of ideas or not sure about the direction you're going, with your art. We all have days that are not so creative and bright, so it's nice to have someone who speaks your language on days like this. I think one of the reasons I think about it every now and then is because I actually used to have a creative buddy in my life. She's my best childhood friend and the most creative and unpredictable person I know. The only problem is that she's over the ocean and thousands of miles away. 7,000 miles or something like that. When we were young, I was exposed to photography and other visual arts through her, though I was just the observer and sometimes her photo model. We used to write stories and plays together, silly teenage stuff, but it was great practice for the future. Still to this day, every time I see her, we're like children again, and it's basic fun with her. But anyway, reality is that she's now too far and not part of my daily life. So, what about you? Are you lucky enough to have a close artist friend? If you do, make sure to keep them around. Don't move to another country. Okay, so this is the premise to the problem. Now let's see what we can actually do about it. So I have a few ideas here. One way of filling the void of a close artist friend is by joining a community. A community of creative artists who are into the same artistic interest you have. In the early 2000s, blogging was a growing interest for many people. The blogs I'm talking about were the self-driven blogs, which presented rich and informative substance. They often focused on a topic or a theme, and they provided their visitors with a wealth of content, and that usually originated from their personal learning experiences. So I had a blog too, where I was sharing my photography. And actually, photography blogs were called photoblogs. And if I remember correctly, most of us used WordPress to host our photoblogs. And also, most of us were men. I guess back then photography was still mostly a men's geeky hobby. I don't think it's true anymore. Maybe it's another thing that digital photography and phone photography changed. There was also a website called photoblogs.org, and this is where we sort of were able to find each other, and a lovely supportive community was created around this website. And I felt very much part of it, which is nice because I'm usually not the type to join communities or clubs and stuff like that. And I just felt that this little community of photo bloggers became my close friends, and we just talked about photography. It was very nice, and at some point we started a magazine, a new magazine called Photo Blogs Magazine, and they used some of my photos a few times as the cover photo, and also I wrote a lot of articles. I don't remember how many exactly, but I wrote a bunch of articles for this newspaper. And probably you already know that these days Facebook groups are really popular. There are tons of groups for every topic. So they're a great place to share your artwork, ask questions, offer advice, and talk about your passion all day long with people who are actually interested in it. A community like these are also a good place to meet like-minded individuals, build friendships, and sometimes these interactions can lead to interesting opportunities to team up and collaborate with these individuals. To be honest, these Facebook groups are the extent of my knowledge of today's communities. So if you know of any other online artistic gatherings, please let me know in the comment section below. The second suggestion I have is more about finding a creative outlet, a way of talking or expressing your need to talk about or share or even brainstorm ideas. And obviously it's a lot better to brainstorm with a friend, but you can actually do it on your own. And what I mean is that you can write. For example, you can write a creative journal, and I mean a journal of creative ideas, lists, thoughts, new artistic processes you want to try, experiments, and and so on. You can also take it a step further and make that journal itself can become the artwork. I mean, if you can sketch or add images, you can color and stamp, and so on. So your journal replaces the artistic friend, and it can also become an inspiring work of art. If you prefer to do it online, you can always start your own blog, or if you're like me, you can write a book. Writing books for me, on the face of it, is the best way of sharing my knowledge. But really, I think it's more than sharing. I think it's about this need I have to always organize all my experiments and processes into one place. I do have test journals and journals arranged by topics, but at some point I figured out that the best way of organizing all these things I do is to put them together into a book. But maybe a book is a tall order, but a journal is definitely something manageable. Okay, so now let's move on to suggestion number 3. Another way of meeting people or having the opportunity to talk about your artwork is to do art shows or art fairs, or even sell your art at the outdoor marketplace. I've seen people selling their art at farmers markets. And I'm sure it's probably another place you can meet people, and especially those who are interested in your artwork. And they probably will be happy to talk to you about it. Not to mention that in a place like that, you can also meet other artists. Okay, so number 4, my next idea is simply to sign up and take a class or maybe a fun creative workshop. And obviously I'm not talking about online classes, but nearby in-person classes that you can take. I haven't done it myself, but I imagine it's a great way to meet locals who are interested in the same subject like you do. And number 5, finally, something else that comes to mind is to join some type of a local club, like a photography club or scrapbooking or poetry. Of course, these last 2 ideas are only good for when COVID-19 is the thing of the past. Right now, as far as I know, there are no in-person classes or club meetings, but it's something you might consider in the future. Okay, so the funny thing is that while talking to you here, I just realized that because I don't have an artist buddy, I mean, this frustration of not having someone to talk to about my art, this is why I write books and I teach online classes and even created this YouTube channel. So after all, maybe not having a creative buddy or an art friend, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it will force you to find creative solutions that will actually push you further in your creative journey that maybe otherwise you would not have taken. Okay, thank you for listening. Feel free to share your experience. And if you have other ideas, things I didn't talk about, I would love to hear them. So let me know in the comments below. Also, if you're interested in taking my new class, gel printing images, you will learn how to print your own photos with a gel plate over a beautiful background and some text. And you'll be able to create beautiful artwork from using your own photos or any other images or illustrations. Anything you have, and you can print it with a laser printer. You can transfer it with a gel plate. So if you're interested, check out the link below this video. And as always, don't forget to subscribe.